Hello, dear friends. I wonder if you, like me, wonder sometimes what is the truth? What is true? And how do I know what is true these days? We are in such an age of misinformation and disinformation and contradictory information and fact checking misinformation, and but nobody's fact checking the fact checkers. I mean, it's like this growing something that has become very apparent in our world today, which was never really there. It used to be that we would just believe whatever was spoken on the radio and or TV or the newspapers. People would say, "Yeah, I read it," or "I heard that." And then everybody would just take that as the truth. That doesn't happen anymore in the same way. I would say people still do that, but there are so many so-called truths out there, so it all depends on which one you pick and accept as truth, and then maybe speak about to others as if you know what is true. Because this person said so, and I believe that person. Or, things like that is how we create our own truth reality. And then we speak about it as if it is the truth. I hear it everywhere when people are talking. There is usually an energy of righteousness or wanting to convince others that they know the truth. And it's not a very pleasant energy. You certainly see a lot of it on social media, where people may post something that they have learned or seen or believe in, and then you get this whole string of people reacting and telling them what they think, and I'll give you a piece of my opinion or what I believe in. It's quite messy. I think the reality of it all is, do you really think there is a truth out there? I'm wondering what your answer is to that question. Do you really believe that there is a truth or one truth out there? And I usually take things to a much bigger or deeper level than the out there would tell you about. My What comes through me or what inspires me is really to wake up from this whole darn thing and see through it. But we can get so identified in there and so, hyped up about finding the truth, no matter what, that we're really, really, really identified with what is presented as an outer picture. Can we find the truth out there? I'm not saying I have the answer. I don't think we can, because I see it from a different level right now. I can certainly also be part of the world. I'm not saying I'm not engaging in the world, but to believe it, I don't know if I really have that in me anymore to believe anything. And I know there's a lot of others, probably a lot of you watching this channel, who are also come to a place like, you know, I don't know what's true. I don't know what's true. Now, in that moment, I know one thing. I don't know what is true, because that is my truth. That is my experience. That is what I'm being informed with right now. And that is all I have, that I could say no, or that I am aware of. The rest will be a mind hearsay, belief, parroting, hoping for. That's all happening up in the mind. It's not the real truth. And again, in my experience, the real truth is an inner experience. And if we filter that inner experience through what other people say, it's not really our own pure experience anymore. This out here is a projection of what we cover our own inner experience with. It's that cover, it's that veil of illusion that comes to us from the outside, in the form of the news or what other people say, whatever we hear. If we do our own research, we might come to a very different conclusion. We might, excuse me, we might learn things that these people that we have believed are not saying. So this can take us to a different level, a deeper level of what we believe is true, but it's still out there. And there's nothing wrong with it. I certainly have also something in me that would like to know, how is this all possible? And I have my own inner belief or feeling. I wouldn't say it's a belief. It's more like something that tells me yes or no. That's what I often talk about. This inner radar, our truth meter, our truth radar that I go by. So if we all start listening to this and not to that, we will have a very, very different experience of what is true or what is truth. And you'll realize that it really has nothing to do with what's going on out there. And there's a lot of freedom in that. It reminds me of, again, Joe Goldsmith, right, who was my very early introduction to spirituality through a book. I started reading it, started meditating, and whoosh, everything opened up in a way that I couldn't even have imagined was real. Yeah, it was real in my mind. It was just this total taken over by the most beautiful love and light that we can imagine. And so, of course, that had an impact on me. And that's why I stayed with Joe Goldsmith's teachings for so long. I still listen once in a while because it's just something that really nourishes my soul. That's my truth, right? There's something here that goes like, yeah, it just melts into this oneness. So one of the things I remember he would say, that if you want to heal something, you have to not react to what you see, hear, taste, touch, or smell. You cannot react to it, because if you react to it, you are giving it your energy. He didn't say it exactly that way. That's my own experience of it all. But basically, we have to not try and change anything out there in the world. A side note, if you feel moved from within to go and do that, then it is true and right for you. I'm talking about a certain aspect of what can be done in the world, and we each have to find what is our truth, okay? So I'm never going to try and convince anybody of anything. I share my own experience because that is my truth. My experience is my truth. Your experience is your truth, and it can change in an hour, a day, a week, whatever. But we have to stay with the present tense unfolding, present time unfolding. So if we want to heal something, he said, we have to not react to the appearance or to what is presented to us, because there is no truth in it. Okay, this is Joe Goldsmith, who was a pretty darn wise man. You may not relate to him or resonate with him. Totally fine with me. I do. And he says, as long as you try and change something out there, we're totally engaging with the illusory appearance. But what he said was like, you see, you know, you notice it, and then you let it go. You just poof, let it go. And then you go inside. And then you ask, okay, show me what is true. What is truth? Because I know that that out there is not truth. Like he would also say, you know, in the kingdom of God, or in the heavens, there is no war, there's no disease, there's no incoherence. That is something that's happening here in the illusion. So that's why to try and change something out there is not something that he would do. He would go inside and ask the divine, show me what is true. Because that is really the only thing that is happening here anyway, except that my mind is so hypnotized to see things that are really not there. I mean, this is tricky stuff, guys. This is something that I've been with for many, many years, and it's still not fully realized. It's becoming much more alive in me for sure. It's just I can feel it more than when I started. My gosh, this is 30, 40 years ago. That's been a long road for me, right? But that's what is for me here. That's all I can say, because nothing else makes sense in a way, you know. So you go inside, you ask, show me what is true, and then you let everything go and you just do your best to be still. And then you open to receive what is truth. That's where healing and change and transformation comes from. And it's nice to stay in that space of not knowing, of being open, of being still. Stay there as long as feel good, and or until you feel some sense of a deep breath, a warmth, an energy, a peace, an expansion. Again, it's different for everyone. Joel would call it until you feel some kind of a click. You know, it's like, oh, you just notice a shift in energy, and then you know you have kind of landed in that space of the divine, of heaven, of peace, because you experience it. It's like, oh, and that is a sign that's like, this is the only thing that is true. And you can feel it. It's a real experience. So that is the answer. We won't get an answer that's going to say, oh, yeah, the truth is, you know, that this, blah, blah, blah. No, it comes in the stillness. And that's why it's very hard for most people to just let it be that simple and just rest in that, because we've all been trained to do things and to fix things and to heal things and to send energy and whatever else. And there is a place for that, absolutely. But there is also a place for this. Eventually, I believe that this will replace everything else. And I also have my own experiences that all the things we have done out here have been very, very helpful to unhook from it, to not react, letting go, letting go, letting go from reacting, engaging, so that eventually we do drop down into the stillness. And it's going to be easier. It's going to be easier to stay that and not let ourselves be pulled out like we normally do. This is a practice we need to take on, because it's not easy. And I would even say it was easier when I started out in the late 80s, because there wasn't so much craze going on, or at least we didn't know about it. It probably was going on, but it wasn't out everywhere. It wasn't open like it is now. Now everything is being exposed. So that's a lot of information to take in when we have believed that this is the truth. And then it's just all these layers that are showing up. So when we come to this place where we just rest, and just start practicing that. Don't have any expectations. Don't make yourself wrong if nothing happens. I had to go through that for so, so long. And there are still times when I do it, it's like I don't really notice much. So, like, okay, but at least I know I have put myself in that space where the divine can just come through in whatever way it needs to without me needing to do anything or even know about it. I mean, I would like to know about it because it's a real sweet feeling, right? When you just get that, yeah, it's like there's an alignment. And then I know, okay, this is the only thing that is true. And then I can just stay with that and then allow that truth to show up in my experience on the outer because the inner and the outer are the same. So if I bypass all these layers of illusion, and go that I see through, if I go straight to the stillness will just start dissolving what is not true, what is not still, right? The unstillness of the mind will start getting more and more still. And then the view is going to look different. So for Joel, that looked like, if somebody presented a disease, he would know, well, there is no disease in the kingdom of heaven. So, I'm just going to go to the kingdom of heaven and ask, well, what is true? And then he would get that. However, he got it probably a lot stronger than I do. And then the person would say, would tap him on his shoulder sometimes, say, thank you. The pain is gone now. Or, whatever it was. For some people, it took longer. But this was his experience because he was so deeply, deeply grounded and steeped in this that it was just second nature. It hasn't been second nature for me and probably not for most of us. So that's why it's practicing to come to this second nature, which is really our first nature, right? So that basically our first nature becomes the most obvious thing. And that's what we're practicing. It also reminds me when I was with somebody who used to be a student of Joel Goldsmith when he was still alive. She was with him, and I was with her for a few years when I came here in the late 80s. So she was also teaching that. She didn't have the consciousness like Joel did. I don't think many people did. There were a few who did. But I remember there was one time one of the students, she was talking about some kind of a, this harmonic thing, something was going on in her life. And then she would say something like, so I just got quiet and I asked, well, what is the truth about this? And I remember it because the answer was again like, there is no truth in this. And you go, what? There is no truth in this. So then we have to go, well, where is the truth? What is true? That's when we drop the outer appearances, go inside and get still and ask ourselves or ask the divine, show me what is true, not out there. There is no truth out there. It's so, it's so mind twisting to be able to get that. It's much more natural for me now because I've been with it for so long, but it's still, to me, it seems like it's the most important thing to realize that the illusion out there is no truth in it. So, and that's what most people are looking for, right? So the title today about what is truth or where is it, or, how do we find it? Not out there. See, can you, what happens in your mind is kind of a mind twister, right? If you're not used to that. So let yourself feel that little tweaking going on in your mind if that is happening. And then see if you can just like, okay, well, then I'm going to let it go. And then I'm going to go inside and say, okay, so now I know that this is not, there's no truth to be found out there. Now I go inside and get still. Now you have to show me, God. Now you have to show me, divine, what is truth then? And that's when we need to spend a lot more time. So we become vessels for that. And you can see that so many people are looking for the truth out there, right? And they're arguing amongst each other about it. Oh, this is true and that's wrong and this is right and that's blah, blah, blah. That is just engaging in an illusion that feels and looks and sounds, smells and tastes very, very real. And it is. It is very, very real to the senses, the five senses. And that's why when we drop that, then we go to the soul sense, if we can call it that, the sixth sense or the soul sense. And then we go there. And then we get sick. And that's where the real truth will reveal itself over time. And the more of us do this, the more of the seeming outer illusion will start to dissolve. And what happened to Joel is that the real truth, which is, because that's what we experience here, of peace, oneness, presence, love. These are the qualities that we can put names to like that. Those are the qualities of the truth. And by us becoming open vessels for that, that's going to translate. I think that was one of the words he used, actually, that will translate into it being reflected on the outside, because that layer of illusion, when that dissolves, then we can start seeing what is true. It's always been here, but we have not been able to see it because of this veil. And that reminds me of the Gospel of Thomas, where he says, heaven is spread all over the earth, and man cannot see it. We cannot see it with our eyes. We cannot hear it with our ears. We have to go inside and let it reveal itself to us.